Well, two lead sources can generate different revenue, right? Just because they set up an appointment doesn't mean they show up. And so the difference in that, it's not marketing, it's if they show up. And so here I want to show how to calculate this based off of, lead source, was the appointment set, how many, confirmation emails were sent or text messages or calls, and then how many were confirmed by the customer, how many actually showed up, a show rate, and then an average. And then they sort of a similar thing here, but everything like this percent here is going to be calculated in a single cell. And so I want to show you, quite a different things, quite a different few things. And then also this will be an average as well. Okay, so let's get started. So what we need to do first is we need to, well, I'll just move this out of the way. Okay, so we need to get a unique list of the lead source here. And so in the data, and if you want this file, there's a download link. If you can't find it, just shoot me an email. So we have the lead source here. So everything is already in a table, and the way you do that is by pressing Ctrl+T. I can't do it here because it's already in a table, but say you had a data set that just looked like, like this. All you have to do is click inside the data, press Ctrl+T, and then if your table has headers, check that box, and then you have the table. But I've already done that. Okay, so we need a unique list of the lead source. And the way we do that with Excel, so lead source equals unique. To get a unique list, we use unique and then click lead source. Make sure you click the table. There's a lot of benefits to a table, but this is one of them. It just makes the formula easier to read. And so we want a unique list of the lead source. So what you'll see is you'll see the mouse. You see how the letter C is highlighting green? We don't want that. So click right below where the mouse changes to a down arrow, but not where the C is highlighted. Okay, so we have that list. I'm going to Control+C and then Control+Shift+V to remove the values. Okay, so now we want, essentially, how many appointments were set, how many confirmations were sent, how many customers confirmed, and then how many showed up. And then these two we calculate. Here we don't have to do a formula, or we don't have to, use the data source. So I'm just going to highlight that, go here, and then paste. Let me just make this a little bit wider. Okay, so to do appointment set, what we have is we have an appointment set right here, meaning right here. The appointment was set because it was confirmed, by the customer, meaning they received the confirmation. But the appointment set is actually, this table is the appointment set, meaning everybody here has an appointment set. Yeah, so all we have to do is we just have to count the number of times the number of times the word shows up. Like how many times does referral show up here? And the way we do that is with the COUNTIF function or COUNTIFS. I always use COUNTIFS. But now we just go into the table and then we can just type in lead source here and then click on that. And now we have the number of appointments set, again, because this is every lead here is an appointment set. What you might also have is every lead that came in and then a column that says, what's an appointment set, yes or no, or a 1 or a 0. But in this example, all of these are appointments that have already been set. So now what we want is, was a confirmation sent? Was a confirmation sent to this lead? Meaning, how many times does the word yes show up here based on this lead source? So how many yeses are there for referrals? How many yeses are there for Google, right? And so the way we do that is equals, COUNTIFS, and then again, table. And here you can choose either lead source first or confirmation sent first, either one. So confirmation sent, comma, and then we want yes. And then the next one we want the lead source, comma, referral. I'm just going to center everything here. And then you can double click that down. And then it's same thing. On the confirmed by customer, COUNTIFS, table, confirmed by customer, yes, comma, table, and then lead source, and then referral. And then the final one is just appointment show. Did they show up? And again, yes here. So what I'll do is I'll show you a little shortcut. So here, well, that didn't work. Let's try this again. I'll copy this, equal. Why is it not letting me do that? That's sort of weird. Yeah, so equals this, and then instead of confirmed by customer, yes, we want appointment showed, yes, right? And then now we have this. And so these aren't really the most important metrics. The most important metric is just going to be, did they show up versus was an appointment set? And then that's what we have here. Ctrl+Shift+5 to get a percent. So I just want to show you this because then you can see, you know, are the confirmations being sent? But the most important variable is, did they show up versus how many set the appointment? And that's what this number is. And then finally, we want an average show rate. So how would we get an average show rate? So what we would do is we would take the average ifs, and then here we have the table, and then we have, you know, appointment showed, did they show, comma, yes. And then the next thing we need is just how many rows are in the data set. So we can use, actually, I'm doing the wrong formula here. So what we do is we do the COUNTIFS and then table, because I'm not doing the average for referral, I'm doing the overall average. So then now we want to COUNTIF table appointment showed here is yes. And then now what we want is we just want this, which is how many yeses there are, divided by the total count of rows. And the way we can do that is we just have to count any of these. So count A of, you know, the lead source, and that's going to count how many non-blanks there are. But since there are no blanks, it's going to count the number of rows. And then we get the percentage. And this is going to be the same all the way down because we want this to be the benchmark. Okay, so now we want to create this chart here, and what it's going to have is it's going to have the appointment show rate by lead source, but then the red line is going to be the overall average. And so all you have to do is highlight lead source, and then hold down the Control key and highlight these two, and then go to Insert. And what we're going to want is this chart here. It's called a combo chart, but it's a clustered column for the actual percentages by lead source, and then a line showing the average show rate. So you can click OK. If you can't find it, then go to All Charts, Combo, and then it's right here as well. And then what do we call this? I'll just copy this name over here. And then I'll space this out or stretch this out a little bit. Okay, so from here, let's just add a couple things, a little bit of housekeeping. Let's add the values to the columns. So click on the columns. You can sort of see they're all highlighted. And then the crosshair here, and then data labels. And then if you want to make them, say, white or a little bit bigger, or you can make them bold, you know, however you want to do. And then for this line, I'm not going to put values, but I will change it a little bit. I'll just click on it or double click. And then you'll see this little box pull up here on the right side. And then let's just make it thinner, maybe 1.5, and we can make it dash, you know, or you could change the colors, you know, however you see fit, but just something to where it's visible, but it's not in the way. And so, yeah. Okay, so that's how we do that. That's the average show rate versus, you know, appointment set, appointments that people showed up to, and then the average show rate. Now you can see, like, okay, you know, cold calling isn't, you know, might not be the best use of time. Okay, so although I don't agree with that, I think, you know, outbound is definitely important. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to do the same thing, but by sales rep. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put everything in a single cell. We need to get this, which is going to be this divided by this to get the percentage. And then also by Facebook ads, by Google, you know, local search. And so the first thing we need to do is here, we need to get a unique list of people, you know, for sales reps. And if you remember, we did that before. We did the unique of the lead source, but now we just want the unique of the sales rep. and we have that here. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to sort it, I'll show you another function just to show you a way to do this. If you put the sort before unique, and this is called nesting, so unique is nested inside of the sort function. But if you do that, it'll automatically sort these alphabetically. And then Control+C, Control+Shift+V to remove the formula. And then now we already sort of have, these here, like we have them up here. But what we can do is we can do the same thing, and I'll show you a little trick to get it across the rows. I mean, I could just copy and paste it, but I'll do, unique table, lead source. Then we have that. I will sort this again just to have it sorted. Okay, and then I need to remove the formula again because I can't drag this here, right? It's going to put everything there. So what I'll do is I'll highlight this, Control+C to copy, Control+Shift+V to paste. And then now we want this up here, but instead of sort of dragging it all the way across, what I will do is I will transpose the values. So highlight this, Control+C, and then right-click ST. T as in Tom. And that's going to paste special and transpose the values across. Okay, so now we have this sort of set up. And so now how do we figure out, the appointment show rate for Facebook ads for Carlos? And so if you remember, we have to first COUNTIFS, and then I could type it in here, but I'll just show you. So the first thing we want to do is we want to COUNTIF, and you can choose the sequencing of this doesn't matter. With sum ifs or average ifs, the first criteria needs to be the sum range or the average range. But with COUNTIFS, it doesn't matter. So we need to count, the lead source is one of them, the sales rep is another one, and then the appointment showed is another one. So this is where we need to start because the numerator is how many people showed up, right? So I'll just start with appointment showed, comma, yes, and then another comma, and now we can choose. So sales rep here, make sure you're highlighting the table and not the column, and you'll be able to see because it'll say that the table name, and then which column you're using. And then we have, I'm gonna delete this part here, but it's B28, comma, and for the next one I won't go over, but the next thing we need is the table and then the lead source, and that's going to be right here, Facebook ads. So 8, right? So 8 appointments for Carlos showed up. But now we need to see for the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, what we have is we need to show how many were total, right? How many people were there for Carlos and Facebook ads, not showed just how many rows were Carlos and Facebook ads. And all you have to do is just copy this, actually copy the whole thing. Copy this, paste it here, and then from here what we can do is we can remove the yes. The appointment showed yes. We don't need that because we don't care if they showed up. We just care how many rows there are. And here you get 89%. So now what we want is we want to be able to drag this and copy it across. But if you do this, you're getting an error. And the reason is because everything is changing. Appointment showed turns to estimated deal value. And there's no yes in estimated deal value because it's a number, right? B28 is changing to C28, right? So what we need to do is we need to tell Excel, like, hey, as we drag this over, we don't want the sales rep name to change, but we do want Facebook ads to go to Google, to go to, LSA, PPC, maintenance agreement. But as we drag it down, we do want the sales rep name to change, but we don't want Facebook ads to change. And so the way you do that is you need to do what's called absolute and relative referencing. Right now, it's relative referencing. Everything, as you drag it over, it relatively changes. But once you lock it in, that's called absolute. And so we need to put here, wherever you see blue, which is the column, we want to lock the column, put the $ before the letter, because you can see that's the column, right? The letters are columns in Excel and the numbers are rows. So where it's the row that you want to lock, put the $ between the letter and the number, essentially before the number. And now we're good. And you're still going to see an error as we drag it across here. And the reason is because the column here is changing. Appointment showed becomes estimated deal value. And that's just the nature of tables. But what you can do is copy, highlight your range by holding down the shift key and then paste. And now you have the answer, the appointment show rate for all. Okay, so now I want to do an overall here. And then I'll narrow this down a little bit. Do an overall here. So this overall is going to be at the lead source show rate, and this overall is going to be the sales rep show rate, right? It's not going to, this section here is not going to account for the source, and this section here is not going to account for the sales rep. And the cool thing is you don't really have to, you can just copy this, paste it. But now what we have to do is we have to strip out the sales rep. So anywhere you see the sales rep, which is blue, well, it's blue for now. I think as I delete this, it might change colors. But yeah, so you delete here, then you can see it changed to red, but B28. So anywhere there's a sales rep, we do not want that. And we make sure that column is out of there. So again, copy that over, paste here, Ctrl+Shift+5 will get you the values. And then here, same thing but different, right? And so what we want here is we don't want the lead source. So anywhere you see the lead source, like right here, lead source, and then the lead, delete that. Make sure that comma's gone. And then the same thing here. We don't want the lead source. And now you have the percentage. Again, Ctrl+Shift+5, and then write that down, and you get it at the sales rep level. No, I didn't do this one. Okay, and so what we want is we want the average, right? And so the average is essentially this right here. So I'll just copy and paste this instead of doing it again, just to save some time. It's already been almost 18 minutes. But if you remember from before, it's just how many appointments showed yes versus the number of rows. And so we already have this here. So just copy that formula and then equals, Control-V and then Ctrl+Shift+5. And so the final thing we want to do is we want to highlight this, hold down Control, just highlight everything here by holding down the Control key, and then go to Home, Conditional Formatting, highlight cells less than, and then click on the 88, right? And so now you can see everything that is below average, which is useful, right? And then two more things I want to show. One is how to quickly do, so what you might want, if you're sharing this with people, you might want it to say something other than the percentage, right? Like if you type in target benchmark, 88%, nothing works because now this is stored as text. And so Excel doesn't know, this is not a numerical value. So you can't be greater than or less than something if it's non-numerical. Like you can't be greater or less than a value if you're comparing it to a non-value. So press Control+1, go to Custom, and then here, before the 0, you can, it's not target benchmark. You can say, average, or you can say overall average or something. Overall average, or you can say, average appointment, show rate, however you want to do it. And then from there, you can just highlight it. So the final thing I want to show is at the sales rep level, what does this even mean, right? I mean, other than the obvious, okay, 9 out of 10 leads are showing up to the actual appointment, as to where this one is, 14 out of 100 are not showing up, right? 16 out of 100 are not showing up. But if we just take these two, I'm just going to copy, what I'll do is I'll just copy this and then paste it here. So this is an appointment show rate. In the tutorial's done. I just want to show you this, like, how to calculate these KPIs is done, but I want to go a little bit deeper to show you. So if you were to give 100 leads or 100 people that show up, that say they want an appointment, then you're losing 10 that aren't showing up and you're losing 16. So what is the difference of that? Right, so the difference is 6 people, right? So David has 84 out of 100 showing up. Carlos has 90 out of 100. So there's a difference of 6. So 6 people aren't showing up from David if you were to give 100 leads to each. And so let's say you have a 50% close rate, right? If you have a 50% close rate, then that means you're missing out on 3 sales, right? So 6 people that didn't show up from David, versus Carlos. And out of those 6, you would normally close 3. So what is the value of those 3? And the way you can do that is you want to do, here, I'll just show you in the data. You have here the estimated deal value. So what we want to do is we want to find the average of the estimated deal value if it's for people that showed up, right? Because they didn't show, so it's a 0 because you don't know what they need, right? Or you don't have enough information to give them a proper quote. So we want to do the average if S, and what we want to do is the average range is going to be the table, and it's the estimated deal value, right? But we don't want this average here. Hold on. Yeah. Let me just do I'll show you the average here. So we do not want this value because it's accounting for the zeros. So what we want is we want the average if S here, again, table, estimated deal value. And what we want to do is we want to do that again, table, estimated deal value, comma, if it's greater than 0. Because this will account for the zeros, meaning like, hey, don't be part of my average. And you can see it's, what is that, $1,100 more? So this is what we're looking for. This is the whole point of calculating these types of things, is that now this is how much money you're leaving on the table per 100 leads. So if it was, say, 500 leads over the course of a year, it's, what is that, 150,000? 140,000 equals this divided by, it would be equals 500 times 3, so it'd be 15. Right? So you're leaving almost $500,000 on the table because this is 3 more closed deals per 100 leads, right? Or per 100 appointments set. So it would be more than 100 leads. But nonetheless, this is the whole purpose, is now you can calculate what is the difference between a 90% show rate and an 84% show rate. And that's $28,000, right? With this specific data set. But anyways, that's sort of outside of the scope of this. That's like, the value of knowing, of digging deeper and actually getting insights from the data. Because again, 84% is good, but what does that actually mean? And it means $28,000, right? So that's what it means. But anyways, that's all I got for this one. This is a long one. What is it, 23 minutes? So questions@databoards.io. If you have any questions, if you want this file, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. Just say, hey, Ryan, can you send me the file for the appointment show rate? And if you need some help getting your data structured in a format like this, then just let me know. You can shoot me an email. There's a link to hop on my calendar. But if not, then I will see you in future videos.